A couple of weeks ago, we took a look at both Cyrax and Sector and ranked all of their costumes from the worst to the best. If you want to check that video out, please check that out up here. To celebrate the upcoming launch, which is going to be either tomorrow or a couple of days ago, depending on when this gets uploaded, we're going to be taking a look at one of the most anticipated characters to make their return into Mortal Kombat, that being Bi-Han resurrected as Noob Saibot. We're finally taking a look at Noob Saibot's costumes, and we're going to be ranking them from the worst to the best. But I have a friend joining me today, so please welcome the Uncommon Oddity.
Hey, what's up everyone? Feels awesome to finally be on the channel. Huge thanks to Nick for having me on to talk about my favorite character in the series, who I have ranted about many times. But yeah, you could say I'm a bit of a design ranking expert. I've been doing it for the past 3 years, and now it's time to do it again, so I'm excited to jump right in.
Thank you for joining me today. It's been a long time coming. So, today, we're going to be ranking all 23 of Noob Saibot's costumes from the worst to the best.
Fight! Fear me!
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Nick and the Uncommon Oddity here. Welcome to, or welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at one of the most popular secret fighters and another ninja color palette, Noob Saibot.
Named after both creators of the series, Ed Boon and John Tobias, by flipping their last names backwards, they created a mysterious secret fighter who ended up having a unique backstory. After being killed off by Scorpion in MK Classic, the original Sub-Zero, Bi-Han, would be reborn into the Wraith of the Netherrealm and member of the Brotherhood of Shadow, Noob Saibot.
And for being quite a popular character, his designs have drastically changed from every title that he's been in due to his limited appearance, going from like a shadowy figure to full-on edgelord. So with his upcoming launch into MK1's Chaos Reigns, we're going to be taking a look at all of his reimaginations, all 23 of his costumes that we're going to be ranking from worst to best.
And as always, this is purely our subjective opinions and ranking based on which designs look the coolest to us. If you disagree, we'd love to see your personal rankings in the comments down below. And for each design, we'll make sure to say at least one positive thing, even if it's not one of our favorites.
Hey, before we continue, I think you forgot to say one thing.
Oh yeah, and there will be no designs from Mortal Kombat Mobile. Why? Because it's Mortal Kombat Mobile. Is that it?
Yep, that should be everything. Alright, with everything covered, why not embrace either Shadow or Chaos as we rank all 23 of Noob Saibot's costumes throughout the entire series.
To start off, in last place, we have one of the two very strange MK4 alternate designs, this one being the hoodie or casual clothing one. In this design, Noob is wearing a very normal jacket and hoodie, along with very normal pants and boots. It's something you'd see your average Earthrealmer wearing in the middle of winter, not the undead Wraith Assassin. It's a cool outfit. I'd probably wear it, but for Noob Saibot's, I don't really get what they were going for.
Yeah, I don't really get this one either. I'm not really against urban-themed costumes for the characters, especially if they're going to be costumes like for Melina, Katana, and Reptile that we recently got in MK1, then sign me up. That would be awesome if Noob got this treatment, but unfortunately, the technology wasn't really there. He just looks like a dripped out Dementor from Harry Potter instead. It just seems very bland. It just didn't seem like they were ready for this type of approach yet. It seemed like they were just a little unfocused because they didn't know what to do with the character. I'm honestly surprised they didn't just go with like a, let's just give him like actual skin tone for arms instead of making his whole body like a shadowy figure. Overall, if they managed to redo this for Mortal Kombat 1 and give him like an actual like urban Earthrealm costume, that would be super cool. But for now, this is the worst Noob Saibot costume of all time. We're not done looking at Mortal Kombat 4 because at number 22, we've got his second alternate costume, that being the weird shiny variant that he has. So for whatever reason, they decided to give him like a weird chrome looking body with like a skull head, which could be cool if done right, but for whatever reason, he just looks like a very evil looking version of Pepsi Man. So it just doesn't look right. I don't even know what they were trying to go for with this one. Like, the top half of his body is just shiny. He has like a very bulgy like set of like abs for whatever reason. It just looks really off. It looks like once again similar to the urban approach that we just looked at. It just looks unfocused and it doesn't look like they were really ready or they didn't know what to do with Noob Saibot as an alternate costume. But I want to know what you thought about this one, Oddity.
Yeah, you can kind of bundle the MK4 Alt into the same category of just why. When I was doing my Noob Saibot ranking for my channel, I didn't even know these two existed. But I do like this one better than the hoodie one, since firstly, at least it feels like something you'd see from Mortal Kombat, but also I like to imagine that this is what a regular Wraith would look like in the Mortal Kombat universe that isn't the awesome ninja assassin that Noob is. At number 21, we're bundling a bunch of different designs together, basically all the shadow ones where there's no definition or detail, it's just pitch black, so MK2, the original MK3, and UMK3. Now I know this is the classic version of Noob, and I really do like how mysterious it makes him, but it also can't really compare too well to the designs that actually have stuff on it. Fun fact though, since there were no ninjas in the original version of MK3, Noob Saibot's silhouette is actually of Kano.
Yeah, thanks for the fun fact there. I actually never knew that about why Kano was actually a variant for Noob Saibot, but looking at this one, it seems like it was cool in concept where it's like, oh, you have this shadowy figure, so we're just gonna have a all black color palette against a black background, so it looks cool, but when you decide to look at it in terms of like design, it really doesn't look the best because, I mean, we're looking at what we can see and there is nothing. Like, he's just a dark shadow, which kudos to that, but I think over time it just doesn't look the best. I just think that this is just a sign of the times, and I just think it was fine back then, but it just doesn't work the best today though. But overall, I just think this one's okay, but there's really nothing to it, which is why it is ranked so low. We're not done looking at the shadow variants because number 20 goes to his design from Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition. Now, this is pretty much the exact same approach that they've done with the previous entry we just talked about, but the difference being this time is that it is Scorpion's design that has been completely shaded to dark. You can tell because it has a sword now, and swords are cool. It's a fun little visual that he has that makes him look a little different than before, so for that, it just edges out slightly over that one.
Yeah, well, it does stand out, and at least there's more to it than the previous silhouette designs. The sword and the armor make it very obvious to anyone who's familiar with Deadly Alliance that it is Scorpion, especially the sword, since that's not really something Noob has ever been associated with. If they had gotten rid of the sword, added blue or white eyes, and maybe just some definition at all, I think this could have been as good as possible, considering this game was a Game Boy Advance port of Deadly Alliance. At number 19, we have the Dark Web skin from Mortal Kombat 11. When ranking a character's design, the biggest criteria for me is how well it fits the character and how much of that character is shown within the design. So while this design is definitely very cool with it being a sci-fi cyber version of Noob, it doesn't really fit his dark gothic aesthetic with all the bright neon colors and robotic panels.
The Time Lord variant here really doesn't make me think of Noob Saibot, but instead it makes me think of like a completely original character if they went with like this Time Lord variant or this story arc instead. Like when I see this, it's like, oh, this is a cool character, and then when I actually like find out that it's Noob Saibot, I'm like, wait, really? I feel like if they wanted to make it feel more like Noob Saibot, they should add more like solely elements to it, remove that big light thing that's on his body, and maybe do something more with like the mask or hood. I would say include some more Noob Saibot staples like a hood, a specific mask, and remove some of that lighting stuff that makes him feel very not Noob Saibot. But overall, a fun attempt that they were going for with like a unique what if story, but it really doesn't do anything for me. At number 18, we've got our first and only crossover costume with Noob Saibot, this being the Batman Who Laughs variants from Mortal Kombat 11. Now, I stopped reading DC Comics a long time ago, and I'm not super familiar with the Batman Who Laughs character, but I can say in terms of like how they translated the design of Batman Who Laughs into Noob Saibot, I think they did a really good job with it. I like how it actually includes like that trench coat, all of the elements that just make Noob Saibot look super edgy. It just seems like they really just took the model and just placed it in there. Like it's like even just looking at it side by side, it's just like a perfect recreation of the character. And I think this is one of those cases where it's like there is no one else that could have fit the Batman Who Laughs pairing it with Noob Saibot.
Yeah, I mean, this design is great. It's pulled straight out of the comic panel and put right into the game. It's one-to-one. It looks awesome, but it's not Noob Saibot's. And this is a Noob Saibot ranking. not a Batman Who Laughs ranking, so you really can't put it that high, even though it looks really cool. Sort of the same thing as the last one. At number 17, we have the Mortal Kombat Deception alternate design. This one's a bit of a head scratcher to me. I mean, they took Noob Saibot's N-word pass. How could NRS do this? Or Midway, I guess. But they basically strip away everything that makes Noob, Noob, his dark shadowy skin and costume. So now this design looks less like Noob Smoke and more like Smoke. And speaking of smoke, what kind of sucks is that the smoke design that goes along with this one is really cool, but you can't use it with the default Noob design.
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn on this one too. I do like the ninja aspects to it. I like the face mask he has and even the weird little iron rings on his body. And I do like that he utilizes shurikens in this adaptation of the character. I don't understand why they gave him like actual skin instead of like the weird dark wraith skin that he has from being resurrected. Because as you mentioned, he does come off looking more like human smoke instead. It's such a weird design. Like, it's one of those like, hey, it sounds interesting, let's give it a shot, and then you'd see it implemented and someone on the team should have been like, hey, maybe let's do what he's well known for, maybe let's just scrap it. But maybe it feels like they just ran out of time and put it in there, or they wanted to make it feel different enough. In the end, this is such a unique design that I'm not the biggest fan of. I just wish that they handled this costume a little bit differently. Looking at number sweet 16 with one of the Combat League variants you can unlock, that being the Death's Head variants. Now, I do appreciate the approach that they go with like a Soul Snatcher and armored version of Noob Saibot, but this is way too over-designed when you look at it. Like, the entire torso is shaped like a demonic soul skull or whatever, and it has all this green or red glow all over it. It just seems like it's so much, like, just I don't know what they were going for with this. Like, it seems like it could have been super cool. I mean, I like armored Noob Saibot. We got a bunch of cool variants inside of Mortal Kombat 11. This one just takes it a little too far. If anything, I would have toned down the torso quite a ton and then just maybe do something with like the arms a little bit and having a slight glow instead of it taking up the entire like accent angle of the face, because it is very distracting looking at it. Like, it could have been so cool, but this comes off very distracting and a sight for sore eyes.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, I should like this design. Noob Saibot is my favorite color. Green is my favorite character. That's not how that goes. But I think what ruins it for me, other than the fact that it's a Combat League design and it's not really trying to be like Noob Saibot, is the reptilian skin. I like Reptile, I like Noob Saibot, but together, not really my jam. At number 15, we have the foreboding presence design from Mortal Kombat 11. From this point on, pretty much everything you'll see on this list is what you'd expect from Noob Saibot, and this is a decent one. It really leans into the gothic Grim Reaper aesthetic that most of the MK11 designs go for. But for me, I'm just a sucker for that classic ninja look, particularly with the V-shaped vest. And this one doesn't really do it for me in that regard, and it's kind of the most forgettable out of the MK11 looks.
Foreboding presence for me does come off and look more Reaper-like, which is something I'm happy that MK11 did with Noob Saibot's character. But I think of all of like the Reaper elements that we get for all of his costumes, this one does come off the weakest. Because MK11 does remove some elements or replace certain aspects to have more skin and costume variants, some things just look a little dialed back or just intentionally like incomplete as a result. You can easily tell with like the shoulder pads, they're not spiked, they don't have that angle to it. It just doesn't have that much of an impact compared to the rest of the Reaper costumes. It feels the most incomplete, so for that, it does have to go the lowest of all of the costumes from MK11. Like his shoulder pads, we're rounding it out to number 15. At number 14, we're looking at one of 3 of Noob Saibot's costumes from MK9, that being his alternate costume. I've already talked about this one briefly in all costumes ranked for Sub-Zero because it is Bihan's costume, just everything is black now, including his skin tone, and the only difference being that his eyes are now bright white. I really wish they did something a little different, maybe did some like glowing like purple or some purple veins in his body or something to make it stand out just a little bit, but just taking an existing costume we already have and making it one color everywhere, if you ask me, it's just a little lazy. I wish they did something new, take advantage of the fact that he is a new Wraith after being perfected by Quan Chi.
Yeah, the MK9 alternate feels kind of bare bones and lackluster to me, but that mainly might be because of how good the default design is in this game. But even then, I'm not really a fan of the Bihan version of this design where he's Sub-Zero, and carried over to here, I think it even looks kind of worse. Just, I don't think it carries over any of the aesthetic that Noob should have. It just feels too generic and whatever. At 13, we got the Jataka's Consort design from MK11. This one takes more of a sleek design compared to the other costumes from this game with the metallic chest piece. I do think it's an interesting choice for Noob. Not my favorite one, but I do respect that they went for something new. Like with the MK9 alternate, I do think this one looks a little bit bare, and an addition or two could make it look a lot better, and we'll talk about a design later on in the list that improves upon this one a lot.
Jataka's Consort is definitely the first big risk they took with Noob Saibot by making him wear less Reapery clothing, and he looks more like an armored soldier instead, or at least like a demonic soldier from the Netherrealm, and I really like the approach they did with it, giving him like some armored pieces with spikes on his body. My only complaint with it is that there really isn't much Reapery aspects to it besides like the sickle going through his body, but I wish there was a little bit more. I do appreciate the risk they made by making him more armory, because we don't really get an armored Noob Saibot ever, and he's not really that armored in MK1, so I feel like this is like the only time that he was, and I really liked it for what it was. At number 12, we're finally taking a look at Noob Saibot's base design from Mortal Kombat 11, the Kilgore variants. Once again, they decided to go with the Reaper design for this costume, and I really think they succeeded with this one. It's not my favorite of the Reaper designs, but I really like what they were going with here. It already has a lot of elements from the Foreboding Presence that I mentioned earlier, but instead this adds a lot on top of it. Instead of having the bare shoulder pieces, there's actually some iron pieces on there that just makes it pop a little bit, especially with like the lighting. It looks really good. I even like how the loincloth has like all these random little straps going down it, and something that's really creepy that I don't see many people talk about is that there's all these random bone pieces all over like some parts that like drape off of his costume. I do think they're just adding like these crazy straps all over his loincloth, his arms, his belt with all these bone pieces, just make him really come off as like this dark wraith reaper who's trying to take your soul and whatnot. I guess really my only complaint with this one, I wish there was a little bit more flare or some extra color that popped with it. Something a little bit more to make it pop.
The MK11 default. I remember when Noob first got revealed for Mortal Kombat 11 and everyone loved this design, but for me personally, it's gone down a bit over time. Definitely not a bad design whatsoever. I do really like the whole gothic Grim Reaper thing that they got going on, but I do feel it strays a bit too far from that classic ninja look, which I personally think Noob Saibot rocks the best out of any of the ninjas, but that might be bias talking. So yeah, it's a little disappointing when they strip all of that away for something more Dark Souls-esque. At number 11, bring the controversy, because we have the Mortal Kombat 1 default design, the most recent design for Noob in the series, and I'm honestly shocked at how many people have been so welcoming to these design changes that this one makes, considering how the MK community usually is with this sort of stuff. But I'm gonna fanboy out here and say I don't really mess with this one too much. It's not bad, but also not ideal for me. With Noob Saibot now being from the Chaos Realm rather than the Netherrealm, he has this bright green energy flowing through him, and I think it's just too much of a mix-up to the classic Noob Saibot formula of him being the dark, shadowy wraith that's mostly one color in black. I would have preferred purple or even blue, and also the pirate hat, come on, the hood clears every time.
It seems like it's a weird mishmash between MK11 and Bihan Sub-Zero just mixed into one. The big thing is I do not like the base cap that he's wearing. It does look very interesting. Does give me a lot of vibes of the MK11 Sub-Zero base design hood that he wears. It does look more pirate-y as you mentioned, and I really wish that they went with like the MK9 hood or something along the lines like that. I do think the silver accents, although really nice, I do think they could have dialed it back just slightly, but overall, I do think this is a great way to reimagine the character, despite the few tweaks I would have made to the design overall. We're finally entering the top 10 by looking at Noob Saibot's base design from Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Wait, didn't you just talk about this like forever ago at like placement number 21 or something like that? Hear us out. There is a reason we put it up so high. This is the MK3 UMK3 Ninja design, but the difference is there's actually some like design and decal you can see to it. Like you can see like the actual vest, the mask, you can actually see like more of like a character instead of him just being a plain silhouette. It was also interesting that Mortal Kombat Trilogy was the only game to have a different design for Noob Saibot, and it was definitely worth it at the end of the day.
Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Now, before Nick and I merged our lists together, my personal ranking that I made first had this design a little bit higher. I do really think it looks good. It is a classic, so you always got to boost it in that regard. But I do have an issue with it, and that's the black that they use. Like, it's just gonna be weird to describe, but it really does look like they just turned the brightness down. The way it's shaded and where the highlights are and where the dark parts are just look a bit off. But one positive I can say is that this one doesn't have these same problems that the other UMK3 designs have of being the bright highlighter colors, because it's black. It'd be kind of stupid to use a black highlighter, wouldn't it? It's just a marker at that point. At number 9, we have the Great Bihan's Ghost design from MK11. This one's a slightly upgraded version of the default, with the torso armor now being a exaggerated version of the classic V-shaped ninja vest with these giant flared shoulders. I definitely like this one better than the default since it has more of those classic aspects of a Mortal Kombat ninja, but I don't think it changes enough for it to be that much higher.
It is very much like Kilgore, just the big difference is he has giant shoulder pads spiking upward. It just looks like he went full on edgelord with this one. Like, he's like so deep into like being a Reaper, probably listens to Linkin Park 24/7. I think it looks really good. It doesn't do a whole lot different. It just makes him look more menacing, disturbing, creepy, rules the Netherrealm. So I do think it's a really good design. I love it. Once again, I do love the bone details, and I like how there's like all these markings along his loincloth. Nice attention to detail. Doesn't do a whole lot to separate it though, but I still think it's really good. Oh man, Visions of Hell looks awesome. It takes a lot of the elements from Jataka's consort variant, but the big thing is it takes a big cloth and it puts it over his design and adds some more of that Reaper elements that was missing to make it stand out a little bit more. So all of the complaints I had earlier of needing something to make it stand out a little bit more, this is here in this design. Visions of Hell looks awesome as hell. Sorry for the obvious pun.
Yeah, this one takes the Jataka's consort design that we talked about earlier and adds that ninja vest on top of it, which is the addition that design really needed, and this one looks 10 times better because of it. I still think the metallic armor torso piece and stuff like that makes it look a little bit off-putting. It looks a little out of place, but overall it's a much better design than the original version, and hence why it's much higher on the list. At number 7, we have by far my favorite of the Mortal Kombat 11 designs, the Ghastly Killer one. Perfect mix of the traditional ninja outfit along with the more gothic aesthetic that a lot of the other Mortal Kombat 11 noob outfits have. I really like how black it is. The other Mortal Kombat 11 ninja designs add a lot of white or gray to it, while this one keeps it pretty simple, pretty much all black besides for a few white highlights on the edges. And especially if you add the hooded mask earpiece, this design just looks phenomenal, and I would really appreciate if something like this came into Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh hell yeah! Ghastly Killer looks awesome. Named after the Pokemon with the same name, it just invokes this really cool wraithy ninja look to it, and probably the coolest way to do like the modernized ninja look for the character. Along with that, I love how they made it very gothic-like. Like you could see like the cloth shoulders have like these points to it. The loincloth points down too. It just gives it this very creepy gothic design and aspect to the character. So yeah, Ghastly Killer making it up this high, I can't believe it either. Kicking it old school, going to number 6, looking at his proper MK2 design from Mortal Kombat 9. Crazy that we never got a traditional MK2 style costume for the character. Damn, did they do a good job with this one. Like, instead of just making his skin like actual like human skin, they ended up just making it all dark, but at the same time they put all this decal and design into the skin. And I even like one thing that they did specifically with the MK2 one, they gave him purple eyes instead of the white. I just thought that was a wonderful addition. I just think that's a great way to do it. And then when they did it with MK11, I thought it was cool that they had his like aged, wrinkled wraith skin along with the white eyes. Not much of a difference to separate them both into different entries, but it's finally nice that they gave the MK2 design some actual treatment by giving it a non-silhouetted version. I want to know what you think about this one, Oddity.
I mean, what else can I say? Mortal Kombat 2, simple, classic, effective design, and they made the alterations that needed to be made within the 3D environment, since you can't really have just the silhouette in Mortal Kombat 9 or Mortal Kombat 11, so they changed it up. It looks great in those games. I especially like the Mortal Kombat 9 one with the purplish blue eyes. I really like that addition to the classic outfit, and yeah, it just looks great. Not much else to say other than that. Cracking the top 5, we have the base design from Mortal Kombat Deception, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very biased with this one. I can't really go into too much detail picking apart the costume itself as to why I really like this one compared to the other top picks. I know we're not supposed to bring story into this, but come on, this is the definitive version of Noob Saibot in terms of story and characterization. In Deception, you ask anyone, they're probably going to say that because there's not much other options when it comes to the games, because Noob Saibot hasn't been treated that well, but that's a video for another time. This is just great. Whenever I look at it, I see that version of Noob, and it's the reason why this is so high. For me personally, I really like the design as well. It does look really good. I like the shade of black that they used. It's kind of got a, I don't know, purplish hue, and the white eyes look great, and it's a great design, but the main reason it's so high is because of story.
Deception, I think, looks really good, and for the longest time, I knew people would say that this was the best Noob Saibot design. I don't think it's the absolute best, but I can see where they're coming from. I do like how it's not just like dark silhouette color, it's like a weird blend of like black and purple that his body is made up of. I also like that depending on like the lighting of the stage, you can get some element of what's included in the costume, but you can't really pick up everything about the design. I just love how mysterious this one is. I love how creepy it is, and I love how it fully embraces like the dark shadow of Noob Saibot. For that, this easily deserves a placement in the top 5. Deception, you did an amazing job with Noob Saibot. Funny enough, number 4 is going to Mortal Kombat 4's Noob Saibot base design. I just love how simple this one is, but at the same time, retaining a lot of key elements that make it feel like Noob Saibot. Like for an example, like with Scorpion, he had the skull mask and the white eyes. Sub-Zero had the eye scar. Noob Saibot now has glowing purple eyes this time, something that the 3D engine was able to portray with the characters, so kudos to that. Even though I bash on MK4 a lot, that's one thing I gotta give praise to. I even like that, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of like the weird horns that he had on the hood, I think it fits Noob Saibot the most, where it makes him look more creepy and gothic. There isn't a whole lot I can say about this one. I just think it's very simple and effective at the exact same time. One of the best ways to do Noob Saibot, following him doing the silhouette design. I think this is just a great way to design this character. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, the MK4 base design looks really good. Again, just classic ninja stuff. Like I said earlier, Noob Saibot rocks these the best. I don't know if it's just because, you know, ninjas are meant to be black and Noob Saibot is black, and so all the designs just fit really well for him, but for whatever reason, when I look at the Noob Saibot version of this classic ninja outfit, it just looks the best to me. I really like the shade that they use for his skin. It's not like pitch black or anything, but it's got kind of a brownish hue, and I think it breaks up the more dark black of the actual outfit itself. And also the blue eyes. This was, I believe, the first time Noob Saibot ever had blue eyes. It just looks great. Taking the bronze medal for all Noob Saibot costumes ranked, we have the MK3 design from Mortal Kombat 1. Unless there's a design that we haven't seen yet that just clears this one somehow, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably going to be my main design used for Noob. Obviously, it's based on the MK3 design, but it actually takes more from the Mortal Kombat Trilogy design since it actually has definition, and the graphical upgrade plus the better colors and white eyes just take this design to the next level.
I'm in the same boat with you on this one. I think this is one of the coolest ways to not only reintroduce the MK3 ninjas, because I think they look amazing in this game, but at the same time, finally give Noob Saibot a MK3 design. And even though it looks similar to MK4's base design, the difference is it has the MK3 vest. I think this is one of the coolest ways to reintroduce. It reminds me of what they did for Scarlet back in the day, because Scarlet never had a classic design, and then when MK11 did it, it just felt right. It felt perfect. It was just like the right move to do. And I'm happy that we're finally doing this service for Noob Saibot. And just like you, Oddity, I am definitely going to be using this skin as my go-to for Noob Saibot when I play as him. Even though he briefly appears in the story, we were introduced with one of the best Noob Saibot designs. Just going with a classic redesign of the MK2 ninja look, this with a very deep black color to the vest with some slight gray design to it just to make it pop a little bit. And on top of it, one of my favorite things they've done, make the eyes super blue with this one. You can look at him in a distance and you know that you're being hunted by like some ghastly killer. Like, it is that creepy. I honestly love what they did with this character, and it's such a shame he only showed up in just this small segment of an awesome, fun little spin-off. I am just so disappointed that we never got this as like an actual true design, because that would have been cool. What do you think of this one? Because I know Shaolin Monks is your favorite Mortal Kombat game, and I know you love a lot of the costumes from this game. I want to know what you think about this one, Oddity.
Shaolin Monks, this game, I have preached it since the beginning of my YouTube channel. This game has the best overall designs for the Mortal Kombat cast we have ever seen. And Noob Saibot is no different. And weirdly enough, it's a very simple design. Like, from this era of Mortal Kombat, you didn't really see a lot of just simplistic designs. Really everything after Mortal Kombat 4 was super detailed from Deadly Alliance onwards. But this design, there's not much to it, and I think it looks really, really good still. Like, it's the perfect mix of having just enough detail, but also not being like super over designed. And it just does enough. It takes that classic design, it just barely does enough, which sounds bad when I say barely, but it hits that perfect level that it needs to be a great design while also not being over designed. So yeah, Noob Saibot and Shaolin Monks, the second place pick, silver medal, goes to this game. But there is one game that does it a little bit better. And our number one spot, you guys probably guessed it before you even clicked on the video, but there's no need to be controversial for the sake of it. We have the Mortal Kombat 9 base design. This one just does such a good job demonstrating what this character is supposed to be. A mysterious, shadowy assassin, while also not overdoing it, just like the last one with a bunch of minor little details that aren't necessary. You can just see how well it takes that classic ninja design, and for the arm guards, the shin guards, the belt, the loincloth, whatever, it just adds a touch of tactical looking gear or that gothic aesthetic. And overall, it's just super clean, and I mean, then you got the hood. That's all I really need to say. It's just the hood. You guys will get it. Obviously, talking about this type of hood, not any other ones.
Yeah, I know, this placement is obvious, but how could it not be the number one spot? With Mortal Kombat 9 being a big reset to the entire Mortal Kombat series, retelling the events of MK Classic, MK2, and MK3, this was a great opportunity to reintroduce the character, showing him as a ninja and a Wraith of the Netherrealm. What a perfect way to showcase that with this design. He looks stealthy, he doesn't look too bulky or have all these crazy armor pieces. They just kept it simple. They knew what to do with this costume. Along with that, I even love the creepy Shadow Man look that he has to it, just having only the glowing white eyes. He has the very creepy looking mask that makes him look like he's gonna hunt and stalk you. When I saw this character get revealed back in like March of 2011 before MK9 came out, I immediately knew that this was like one of the best readaptations or best redesigns for any Mortal Kombat character. I would even say it's one of the best redesigns for a Mortal Kombat character in general, not just through the NRS era, just in general. This is such a great way to reintroduce Noob Saibot to a new generation, and I can understand why people started to fall in love with the character just because of this alone. For that, the MK9 base design is the best Noob Saibot design of all time. And so there you have our ranking for every single Noob Saibot design, ranked from the worst to the best. Which one was your favorite and which one was your least favorite? Be sure to let us know in the comment section down below, and let's have a fun discussion about it.
And remember, even though we're talking about Mortal Kombat, don't try to fatality us in the comments. Make sure to keep things civil and respectful towards us and your fellow commenters.
Thank you for that, and thank you for joining me today. It's been a long time coming, and I'm happy we finally got to work with each other on a costumes ranked video. Now, where can fellow Whackpackers find you?
You can find me on my main channel, The Uncommon Oddity, where I make retrospectives, rankings, and reviews on everything Mortal Kombat. You can find me on Instagram at The Uncommon Oddity and Twitter/X at @uncommon_oddity. Yes, someone took my name like 10 years ago, and it was very upsetting. And one last time, big thank you to Nick for featuring me on the channel. I always appreciate bringing the MK community together with these kinds of collabs, and this is definitely my biggest one yet. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.
Thank you again for joining me today, and if you want to check out the Uncommon Oddities channel, please check out the card right up here. He also does a bunch of fun costumes ranked for Mortal Kombat characters. We have been talking about wanting to work together for quite some time, ever since all Scorpion costumes ranked back in 2022, so I'm happy that we finally got to work with each other, covering his favorite character, Noob Saibot. And if you would like to see some fun collaborations down the line with more content creators, please drop a like, subscribe, and share this with all of your friends, family, and whoever. It would really mean a ton, and it helps the channel grow. Share the love, please. As always, I greatly appreciate your continuous support. It truly means a ton. Don't forget to check out the live stream I'm going to be doing for Chaos Reigns, coming out either tomorrow or it already has happened, so if it's already been recorded by the time this is out, be sure to check out the live stream. It really means a ton because it's the first time I've ever done it, and maybe I'll do some more stuff like this down the line, so please let me know. You mean the world to me. Thank you so much for your continuous support. My name is Nick, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Fight!